Having shelter is part of the basic needs of humans, but access to shelter or a home is a struggle for many worldwide. In Ghana, there is a housing deficit of about 1.7 million, and getting a home can be expensive, and you need to pay a year or two in advance. You may be aware that there are quite a number of homeless people in Ghana. Some sleep on the streets, others at stadiums and other facilities. But can you imagine an 80-year-old homeless woman struggling to find a resting place for her frail body? I spoke to Madame Johanna, who has a heart-touching story about how she transitioned from owning a two-bedroom house to being homeless.
I was then a typist. In our time, I finished the Star 7 in '54, and two-year commercial school. So I worked as a typist. I started from the Registrar General's Department in 1960. I was at the State Function Secretariat 61, 62. I delivered. So after my maternity leave, I was posted to the Ministry of Health. So I worked there till 77 when I went home. The only daughter that I have was married. Fortunately, the year that she married, she got her first son. 6 months later, she was pregnant, a girl. 4 years later, another girl. And that is my gratitude to God. I'm so much grateful to God for these children, and I love them so much. So, you know, the marital life got shattered along the line. So, my grandson, who had 10 ones in BEC, the father was nowhere to be found. My daughter couldn't do it. What can I do? My grandson must go to school. What do I have? All I have is this two-bedroom house. Let it go so that my grandson will go to school. And now here am I.
Really sorry that you had to go through this.
That was 2007. And I lived with my daughter and the children. The husband was away at Nungua, where she teaches. Okay. And she's still there. But along the line, the rate of the house was increased. And my daughter said, I can't afford this because the children are in school. I can't afford the advance that the landlord is taking. So she narrated the story to a cousin of her husband who is living in Kwabinya. So the man said we should come. So we got everything down to Kwabinya. That was 2012, 13. 2012, 13. We were all there in Kwabinya, in the husband's cousin's house. And on the 31st of December, I went for watch night service when I came, beginning of the 2014. My daughter too came with the children from the watch night service. I was sitting outside the house. He said, have you been given the story? I said, what story? He said the cousin's wife said she would not stay with me in the house and that I should leave. Oh, what have I done? So I packed up. I went to a friend. I stayed with a friend at Nungua for 1 year. And Johanna, nothing is coming. You have no money. Though she doesn't give me food, I sleep, water and everything. So she sacked me. I went to another place. I went to another place. Before I got to know the churches, then I started visiting the churches to tell the heads, I'm nowhere to lay my head. Go and sleep. I sleep for some time, and the workers there, oh, you watch our hand, watch our hand, and show her embarrassing. So, even first I went to Hebron. I was sacked from Hebron. I came here.
You went to Hebron prayer camp?
Yes.
And they asked you to leave?
Yes. They all say the same thing. You don't keep long in prayer camp. At least 2 weeks. And when you are 1 month to 6 weeks, you are too much, so you need to go out. So I ran there, came to another one at Lashibi. I stayed there. The man was so kind to me. At times he gives me money. The head of the mission. And then the same thing came. I ran back to Hebron. And you know what brought me out from Hebron? I weary too much in the night. And you have nowhere to sleep other than the church room or the houses, which the houses seem to be sacred, and you don't need to weary there. So I have a bucket covered, of which I do that. So I carry it. So one day, one of the security men said, Mama, just said a woman, I'm so patriotic. Now, and I think the security man might have said something. So on Monday's week, I was called and said, Mommy, Johanna no and tea with your bet to me about sorry. And tea skaka crana corner.
How much did they give you?
500
500 cedis.
So that Monday I didn't leave. I left a week today, thinking that I was going to a friend, a woman at Kwabenya, and he refused to give me a place. So I took a car, came to Nungwa and find a guest house, and I slept there.
And you paid with which money?
With that money.
The 500 cedis you were given?
Today's week I was at the ministry.
Which ministry?
Housing. Earlier on, I needed this house for long. So there was a young man I discussed with him. So next year, from January downwards, the houses will be ready. So he can't give me the costs. But if the time comes and I come to, so I was there last week. I said, I've now come home because I'm based on 500 Ghana. And she asked me to see another woman. And when the woman promised to help me with the house. And the cost, he said 149 cedis, 900.
Per month?
I need to pay that amount so that I'm given the chance of living there.
Okay. 149,900. That was for a 2-bedroom, and 87,000 for a 1-bedroom. Okay. So why aren't you able to live with your daughter or any other family friend or a family member?
Oh, it's unfortunate. My daughter now has living in one single bedroom. I think this place will be even bigger than that with the children. So automatically I come with them.
What about other family? Do you have siblings,
my
sisters,
my
extended family?
Extended families are there, but when your brother is married, you don't go there. You see him, if he has something he gives to you, that is all. Don't go to the family. You don't go there.
Why? Is it
Only God knows.
And when you say we, what do you mean? Your culture or where you come
It's
from?
not our culture. That is the family in which I find myself.
Have you ever applied to benefit from any of the interventions for old people, LEAP? Have you been to the social welfare department? Anything?
To social welfare, when you go there, you will not get anybody to talk to.
Have you gone there before?
Yes. I was at the social, I went to LEAP office near the Ridge Hospital.
Okay.
I sat down the whole day. The man who was to come was at a meeting, so I didn't see him. LEAP could not, even I didn't know of LEAP. When I went there, somebody told me, I said, look at me, I'll be 80. That was last year. We were going in for programs, so we were soliciting for funding. And so I asked one of the boys to address my envelopes for me. And he said, at your age, you can solicit for LEAP. I said, what is it about?
And he told
me.
From here, where are you going? Where are you going to sleep? What are you going to do?
Only God knows where I will sleep every day. If I'm not in the camps, I come out from the camps and the day breaks. Lord, you know where I will sleep today. So I've been praying, trusting God all since 2014. How many years? 4 years.
So I've got Dr. Reto Wusa-Mankwa. She is director at the Social Protection Directorate of the Gender Ministry, and Felix Loga, he's assistant director, programs development at social welfare. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. Let me start with you, Doc. What do you make of this story?
This is very, very unfortunate. I think that this is one of so many of the issues that the country will have to deal with. Taking care of our old is our responsibility as a country. And for me, it's not only the responsibility of the government, it's the responsibility of all, including the nuclear family and the extended family as well. It's the responsibility of the social groups that we have, the church, the Islamic groups, and all the social groups, the NGOs, the CSOs, everybody in Ghana will have to play a role to make sure that we have a sustainable way of taking care of our own.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Loga? This woman has shared her story. What are your impressions?
For my side, we will want to find out the people around her. It's not absolute that in this country you don't have anybody that have a relation to you, and even where she's staying in the prayer camp. And so there is a support around her. Maybe possibly she's ignorant about it, or maybe she needed an advocate or somebody who can speak on her behalf as to what to get at what point in time. And that's what I have seen currently. So we need to probe more into her issues. And you realize that as she speaks about where she's moved to for an intervention, she's not been able to talk to anybody or whatever. And so there is a need for follow-up.
But we've spoken to the family, at least we've done some of our checks with relatives. The clearly is, they don't have it. There's this lack. They can't afford it. I mean, and you heard her daughter is living in a very small one-room apartment with her other children. She went on to live with a friend. She has a family that can't help. Clearly, at this point, some other person should be held responsible. That's why we have the social welfare department. She says she's been there. She didn't get any help.
Let me just add that, you know, as Phyllis said, there must be some kind of support. For instance, in my church, you know, when the nuclear family cannot support you and the extended family cannot support you, there are other support ways that you can derive your support
let's use this woman as an example. She clearly doesn't have support from family. and she needs support from agencies like yourself, like your agencies, the Gender Ministry and the Social Welfare Department. And she says she's not been able to access that. So how do we deal with that when people aren't able to get the support or expected support from the family base, and they come to organizations like yours that are mandated to provide it anyway?
Great. Let me say that if really, I mean, she moved through the process, as much as even the department and agencies do not have enough, there is a place we have for Center for Destitute in the country, or which the social welfare can send her to Kumasi Bekoy. And over there, she will join the other colleagues and she'll be taken care of. And provided even that it established that, yes, really the family or we call it significant others in our practice, do not have any support for her. And even in relation to maybe the other social group she belongs to, the church, I mean, the other welfare groups around her are not able to support. That is what we identify in our social inquiry report. Okay. Then, based on that, then she's given a process and sent to the center as I'm talking to now. And that's the only center the country have in
the whole
Bekwai.
of Ghana.
Yes, in Bekwai now. Yeah. So she will be moved there, and over there, at least she'll be careful. At least she'll get the minimum or the basic care or needs that she has.
What process does she have to go through to get to this center for the destitute?
Like we do now, she reports to social welfare, and then a caseworker is assigned to her issue. Then the person followed up, like you have done, to establish really maybe the validity of her story. Then get to the home where she's staying, and then that coupled with other maybe third or secondary data on her. Then she's rolled in as part of the state person.
How long do we expect this process to take?
Yes, if all things being equal, like I just use all things being equal, this process should not take 2 weeks.
Interesting.
Yes.
But in her story, clearly you could see at a point she said that she didn't know about LEAP. I mean, clearly shows that there may be a gap between the available incentive and the people who need them. How do we bridge that gap? Because I want to believe that there are a number of Johanna Abans out there who really need help, but they don't know where to go to and how to access the incentives.
Yeah, we have established a call center for that purpose, that whoever has any grievance can call the call center. It's a toll-free line.
Do you have
the
number?
0800 800 800 and 0800 900 900. You can call from any of the networks, and your case will be recorded and followed up and on timely basis. So whoever has a problem can call these two toll-free numbers. We have set up a call center call that we are calling Helpline of Hope call center, that are receiving calls from people. We have prevented suicides. We have prevented a lot of people. We are giving even legal aid to people. We are referring people to access legal aid and other services that can help them come out from their situation. So anybody at all in Ghana can call that number.
And the number again is 0800 800 800
exactly.
and 0800 900 900.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the numbers to call.
Exactly.
But in the whole of Ghana, do people necessarily need to come to Accra?
No. You are not supposed to come to Accra. Wherever you are, you call this number. It's a toll-free number everywhere in Ghana. You are not going to pay anything. You just call the number. You can even ask somebody to call, because you are not going to, the person is not going to be charged. So you call the number, you give us your case, and we refer you to the appropriate. We want to strengthen the referral systems in Ghana through that. We have trained all the social welfare officers in Ghana on this one, on how to improve case management. So wherever you are, you just call us. We will refer you to a social welfare office that will follow up your case, make sure that you get timely interventions and all that. Apart from that, we want to engage the faith-based organizations in Ghana. For me, they provide a lot of essential services to Ghanaians. In my church, for instance, we are catering for people, we are catering for orphans and old people in our church for free. We are sponsoring over about 30 people, orphans in our church. We have a lady that I've even adopted as my mother. You know, the church has also adopted that lady as a mother. He gave birth to only one child. The person is dead. So all that she has is the church. So we pay for the rent for that lady. We give the lady every month some stipend for her upkeep. When he is sick at the moment, we support her with drugs and everything. That's why I'm saying that she may have, instead of moving from one prayer camp to another, if she has one church that she has been attending, then there is the church's responsibility to cater for this woman.
But some will argue that it's also your responsibility.
Of course.
To cater for her.
All of us, as I mentioned in the first instance, that we all have that role to play. You know, you even have a role to play when you see somebody in a situation that you can help. You have to help the person. And that is how that is what makes us Ghanaians. We support each other, you know. We take care of our nieces, we take care of our nephews, we take care of our aunties. And so we shouldn't allow that to dwindle. We shouldn't allow that to go. We should strengthen that kind of bond that we had to support each other. The government is there. The government is supposed to do that, but the government cannot do it alone. And that is why you need everybody to come. And that is why we are targeting the faith-based organizations. We are working with the Christian Council to share the social protection strategy and how we can work together with them throughout the nation.
But clearly, in his earlier submission, he did mention that, for example, the social welfare department is lacking a lot.
Of
so
course.
While people also try to figure out how, as a family or as relatives or church members, they can support others, aren't we looking at also improving the social services?
We are doing that. We are doing that. Currently, the LEAP, the woman says, you know, she has no idea of the LEAP, which is, well, maybe, yeah. But we have the LEAP. The LEAP is currently supporting over 450,000 households. It translates, if you can multiply it by 4, and you see the number of people. Every month we give money to support themselves.
All right. Let me come to you, Mr. Luga, because you are Programs Development, Assistant Director of Programs Development at the Social Welfare. What really, as a nation, is our policy? What do we have for the aged in terms of providing care and support to them?
Thank you very much. Just from the background on what we have discussed so far, you realize that if a case of this nature comes to me, already the woman has a place for support. We can refer to Director's Church now. As a immediate one. That's what I want. That's how I want us to see it. So that, I mean, to the extent at which that, but then looking at it, government has a plan for aged since time social welfare was established.
But have we been able to implement that plan? Have we been able to?
I mean, it's like I said, in several quarters, they are, as I said, if it comes to residential facility for the aged, that's the only one we have. But that notwithstanding, I mean, other programs are there to support the aged. As we speak about the
and how, sorry to cut it, but how old is this center for the destitute at Bekwai?
Oh, it should be more than 65 years.
And since then, we haven't been able to put up any other place. For example, if this woman has to be moved from here to Bekwai, it means she's cut off from family. And you know, the aged also usually want family around, or else they age faster.
But the woman is already cut off from the family.
Let me explain that to you. That philosophy you just mentioned, that makes it why we can't build more places, because we want to integrate.
Exactly.
Streamline. So better still, we will not want to put people in a residential area where is that they are cut off from society. They need society. And that is an aspect that will address their social psychological needs. So one of the things I want us to get is that, aside even the LEAP we're talking about, there are other social protection interventions.
Like? And
we have even labor-intensive public works. Yeah. So what even she's saying, she's educated, she's learned. And when she gets into that, she can even sit down and be clocking. That alone she will be doing for those who are engaged in the other services. And that can
at
earn
80. Anyway,
No, at 80,
yes.
the LIPW is not supposed to pick an 80-old person.
No, I'm giving the understanding that at least the fact that she has the energy to interact with you, she's useful.
No, okay. Now you said that with this particular case, you could forward her to Dr. Rita's church. Now, are you saying this to the effect that you are not well resourced? No. Are you well resourced?
No, the department is not well resourced. I mean, there's inadequacy in terms of resources. That one is a fact, because the volume of work to deal with, as far as social services in this country is concerned, there's not enough to address it. That is a fact. But then what it means is that in a very basic way, with the professional skills that the department has, if it is resource, they manage to deal with the situation as it is in hand. That's why I'm telling you that even right from here, we can see what are the resources around this woman that can help her if she situation is brought to the known of the department. So as she's saying that, let's not forget that anybody can get to any other department or outfit within the ministry. I said that is social welfare. Possibly people might not direct well, or they might not lead to the right place, and that could be an issue.
All right, I really appreciate your time. Dr. Rita Uzo-Amankwa is Director, Social Protection Directorate of the Gender Ministry. Felix Zoga is Assistant Director, Programs Development at the Social Welfare. Clearly, there seems to be a lack, and we cannot make it look like it is the responsibility of only the family and the church in addressing this issue. Most definitely, yes, exactly. A role to play. And you've told us of your plans to involve churches and other stakeholders.
And even the private sector, you know, we are also reaching out to the private sector through their social responsibility agenda to support to support the social protection agenda.
So, but before you go, so what can we do to help this woman?
We all can. You have a very a good platform to solicit for support for her. I believe that somebody somewhere out there is ready to support even at this stage. So let us talk about the...
But what about you?
We have one shelter, as he has said. We can process her for the shelter.
Okay.
Well, but if anybody out there want to support this woman, that would be fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much. So the number to call if you need any help is 0800 800 800, 0800 900 900, and that is a toll-free number. Thank you so much for your time here this morning.